Wilderness was born out of frustration, really. It was born out of my inability to really tell the world who I was. I had made a mixtape when I first moved to town, the 5280 acoustic mixtape. That was like my first project, and I didn't have the money to even go produce stuff out, so it was just acoustic. And so it was just to get songs out there so I could go play this tour with Chris Lane that I got put on. So like it was kind of just rushed together. And then the More album was, things were starting to happen because of that project and that tour. So then the More album was like, well, these are just a bunch of demos. And so we finished the demos and we just put them out in the world. And like it was my first chance at playlisting, and it was my first chance at like just really learning how to make and produce music. I didn't grow up doing music or anything, so that was my first chance at really saying I'm an artist and this is what I want to do.
What if I'm just 100% me, doing exactly what I want, and I'm just living my life like I'm only listening to me, myself, and I.
But at the end of More, which is like the fall of 2019 maybe, we had put out some more singles in between to kind of like fill the space, and I was like, man, talking to Jeff, my manager here, I'm like, man, I feel like there's this next like level and step for us. And so we started asking ourselves, like, if we could make any project in the whole world, what would it be? What would it sound like? Like the question I asked myself was like, what would blow me away? Like, what is something that's impressive to me? And I started just getting this like idea for this concept album that was made up of like mood EPs. And so I wanted to be able to put out a ton of music while also creating a project in the process, because I love albums and I love being able to listen to like a body of work from an artist. But I don't like when people just drop 18 songs on me. That's annoying to me. So I wanted to feed people along the way. I wanted to play the algorithms on Spotify and TikTok and all these things, but I also wanted to put out a project and play the industry game. And so I felt like it was this big win-win. So then I started to brainstorm, like, what are 4 ways to chop it into, you know, like these moods. And we had like so many different iterations of this. There was like an eyeball for identity. There was like a heart. We thought about like the body maybe in like 4 different quadrants, like tried a bunch of stuff. And then I think it was really Jeff Cherry who was like, what if it was like northeast, west, south? And I was like, that's dope. And it unlocked this thing in me, which was like, I'm from Colorado. Like, the branding should be about who I am and where I'm from. And this album's like this thing about going out into the unknown and trying to figure out who we are. So then we found the title Wilderness, which for a while it was called like Into the Backwoods or something like that. It like, it felt cheesy and like not me. But Wilderness, we figured out the definition is like this place that nobody calls home. And I was like, that's where I'm going. I'm trying to find this sound that is me and that like isn't inhabited by anybody else. So we started coming up with the idea of grouping these songs: north about identity, east about love, west about heartbreak, south about summertime nostalgia. And we started finding these totems. So like the bear is like my spirit animal, like it was like my high school mascot, and I always feel like the grizzly bear is like this powerful Colorado animal, so like it represents me and who I am, where I come from. Also in nature, like Native American cultures and cultures around the world, the bear represents like courage and bravery and all these really cool things. So like that's a great north identity totem. East was like this leaf, and the sun rises in the east, and you love like rises within you with time. And so we're like, oh, that's all really cool. The branding was like this like red and white and pink color. West was the owl, which represents like death, the end, destruction, like the end of a time or a period. And that was like this dark branding. And then south was the fire, which is like, I grew up in Colorado, so like on a summer night we'd be in the mountains and you'd have a campfire and you're talking about your memories and nostalgia and summer. It just reminded me of all that. So all those things just really came together, and we're like, oh my gosh, we had a lot of the songs. Then I started writing into this format. I started writing intros and outros and interludes, and I wanted to do something that nobody else was doing in country music. And when I thought about it, I was like, some of my favorite artists, Drake, Justin Timberlake, Eminem, John Bellion, Taylor Swift, they have like a B-side of a song, or like a different version of a song, or the song splits halfway through, or there's like an intro to the album, or like John Bellion has this Hand of God outro that's like one of my favorite things in music. I was like, I want these EPs to be like really digestible, but I want them to have like these moods. And so these intros were the way to like start the mood of the EP. The interludes would like continue the songs or extend a song, and then the outro is this way of like either closing a song or closing the chapter. And then that way it really felt like a break. And so you could listen top to bottom. If you were falling in love, you could listen to East. If you're going through a heartbreak, you could listen to West. If you wanted it to feel like summertime, you could listen to South. If you wanted to feel like you were listening to my story and learning more about who I was, you could listen to North, top to bottom. And all of that was Wilderness. It was this way of finding who I was, or still am, and finding out like what I want to be and what do I want to sound like and what do I want my pictures to look like. Like, it was my real first attempt at an album and figuring out who I am and what I want to be. That was the one part of Wilderness. Like, we definitely got it done very quickly. Like, we did not stop for anything. We just freaking raged through that thing, and it informed a lot of decisions we made, because we were like, let's just make the best decision, and I'm really glad we did it that way. There's also a part of me that's like, we probably could have slowed down a couple times and like tweaked something, but I don't know, like, I wouldn't change it, so here we are. But the next thing. So then we finished the music, and we've been putting it out throughout this whole, half of a year. We started it in October, started putting it out in like April or something. It came out fully as an album in November. And in that time, you do all this mixing and mastering, and you put so much hard work into an album. And then you want this release day. Like, the word release is actually really accurate, because you feel like you're like letting it go into the world. And we tried so hard to get this thing to chart on the iTunes charts. And the day the album comes out, there is a once-in-a-lifetime glitch on the iTunes charts where they're just not uploading. So, like, we checked the whole morning, and no matter what happened, like, it just said the album was available for pre-order, but it didn't say that it was out. So we had no idea what was happening on the iTunes charts. We were seeing tweets that were like, oh, the iTunes charts are going to be frozen all weekend. So we were literally sitting right back there, and that's like on that grass right there. Jeff and I were just refreshing our phones over and over, like, is it going to happen? Is the Wilderness album going to come out today? And it came out, but it was not charting. Like, you go to the pre-orders, it's not there.
Yeah,
you
but
go to the
shows.
homepage, it is on the pre-orders.
Yeah, no. Yeah, something just hasn't updated in the system yet.
What sucks is, like, my gut is that it will come out, like, on the hour. So it'll probably be 10.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Apple is based Pacific, so it could be like a 9 a.m. Pacific time thing, which seems crazy.
It seems crazy to me.
And it hasn't been that historically. Like, I don't even think last week it was like that, so.
Yeah, I'm just really confused. I don't feel like any of our releases have ever took this long to show up.
Does it feel good that it's at least out? Or just shrouded
It's
in
just shrouded in, like, I don't know. Yes, the answer is yes. I'm very glad that it's out, because, yeah, I put so much into this project. It's been such a build-up that it feels good to just be, like, kind of out and done. But it doesn't feel like it's really out yet, because it's not, like, the payoff of what happened with it. Even if it, doesn't do what we want it to do, at least then I'll just know. But it's the not knowing that is brutal.
It's 9 o'clock. We should pull over and just check.
Okay. Please don't be a glitch or a bug. Alright. Still on the pre-order. Well. 4:30 that day, finally, it updates, and luckily the album went #1 on country, and it went #4 all genre, which is incredible, and felt like such a, you know, again, release and this amazing moment of like all the hard work paying off in that moment. But super stressful the day of. Like, I don't think a lot of people really know that story of, like, you think that on a day like that it would just be all rainbows and butterflies. It was like one of the most stressful days of my life for this project I dedicated, like, basically up to that point everything I'd ever worked for. But it all worked out. The album went #1. We ended up getting a song on Hot Country. We have a song on The Highway, which is crazy. And so we had all these goals for the project, and to go #1, to be on these playlists, to be on the radio, and like Wilderness did that for me. And so it's because of the fans, it's because of the Stadium Gang, it's because of the industry buying into it. And I think it's because we made this really cool thing that was different and authentic, and Wilderness is so unique, and I think people found that and like then just blew it up because of that, because they were like, this deserves to be heard by more people, and what a freaking blessing, you know. It was awesome. So then, but that's like not even half of it. Like, you put out an album, but you're not even close to being finished, because then you have to find a way to market the album and to get the album out to more people. And so normally you would go tour an album, but it was COVID, so we couldn't even play any shows. So we went and rented this cabin in the middle of nowhere, and we played each EP, north, east, west, south, down all the way with a full band. This incredible, like, it wasn't even a cabin, it was like a freaking lodge. And we shot these incredible full band videos that were our way of like showing people what the Wilderness shows would look like. So fun, like they turned out so good, and were really well received too, like by fans and by people in the industry, and like it just felt like this really cool way to show off the music that we had made. It at that moment was the closest thing we had to showing it off. So now the world is opening up, and I finally get to go play these songs for the first time this fall. We're going on tour. Got like 10 dates with Kid G that we're opening up, and then like, I don't know, 12, 15 headlining dates. And all that stuff is my first attempt at really playing the Wilderness album, which feels crazy because we started in October of 2019, and we'll be playing the songs for the first time really in October of 2021. But that's life. And luckily through TikTok and YouTube and all these things, like we've gotten to show this music off to so many people, and we now have a text list of thousands of people. I have almost 2 million followers on TikTok, and really I built all that using the content of the Wilderness album. Things I can't say, my person saying this, these songs that keep finding new life, and it's just been a blessing. It's been the best and most fun project I've ever made. It's been the most inspiring thing to me to make music. It has inspired me on what we're working on next album, and like what we want to do and what I want to sound like, and the process of making music and the excitement of finding out who I am. So I am forever grateful for the Wilderness project. I feel like it was like getting my master's degree. It was like, you know, like apprentices, they have to like do this last thing to like become a blacksmith or whatever, and I feel like that was my attempt at like becoming Spencer. It was like my real foray into, okay, well, who am I and why am I different, and what is that gonna look like moving forward, and it just gives me hope. It gives me hope to like move forward and make stuff, and I couldn't be happier about the way it turned out and the way it sounds and the way that it's inspired me to keep doing music, tell my stories.
Find my person.